Hey everybody, welcome back. Steve Basic Architect. I'm out here on job site. We're back out at the Green Logic project. Guys are doing a fabulous job. And today we're going to talk about floor framing. Now, I know floor framing, I've talked about it a number of times, but we're doing it somewhat old school, as much as I hate using that word, but we'll call it old school, where we're using solid sawn joists. So these are 2x10 joists. We chose to go to them because this isn't a very large house where we're looking for large spans. And we'll talk about some of the framing and how we manipulated that. But also the cost of getting the 2x10 versus engineered joists, all of that good stuff. It led us to the 2x10 being the best choice for this particular job. Now, when you look behind me, you'll see there's a large LVL beam that just basically runs down the middle of the building, certainly intentional. It's got the lolly columns equally spaced, splits the basement into two. It's very traditional building style. I believe the house is like 22 feet wide, 24 feet wide. So we get, those two 12-foot spans, more than adequate for the 2x10s. You can see they lap real simply over the top of the glue lamp. The LVL is dropped intentionally so that it offers those joist space. So if we had to move plumbing or we have to move HVAC or something like that across from that side of the basement to this side of the basement, we can effectively use it by coming over the top of that beam. Now, one of the other things to point out, you see here, this big opening that's covered up. Well, when the homeowner actually lives in here, it won't be covered up because we're gonna have a beautiful staircase that comes down to some spaces in the basement here. So the builder just temporarily put the floor sheathing on there to cover it up so they can work and nobody falls through. It's a safe practice. But you can see here, the 2x10s, that we actually had to triple up the beam there, and then we pull the triple here that goes to a triple over there. So that is what carries these floor joists because they can't go all the way to the LVL. So we have to bring that load path over and bring it over to the LVL on that triple 2x10. Now, what that allows us to do is have this nice big opening for the stairway. So the stair is going to come down, and you notice this floor framing is spanning in that direction. But when I come to the bottom of the stairs, it switches to this direction. Now you sit there and say, whoa, Steve, wouldn't it have been easier to just carry that beam across and run the stuff continuously in that direction? Yeah, it would have, but the homeowner wanted to have a nice big room here at the bottom of the stairs. So we switched the direction of the floor joists. We stopped the columns here, and now that gives them this 14-foot by 24-foot room that has walkout capabilities out to the outside there. So let's go back to the studio. We'll break out the floor framing plan. We'll talk a little bit more about it. We'll see you back at the studio. Hey everybody. So hopefully you enjoyed that trip out there we took. Project Green Logic Builders doing a great job. Yeah, floor framing. There's all kinds of decisions to be had there, and believe it or not, some of those decisions are tied to function and as well as, the budget and a whole bunch of things. So anyways, got Big Red here. We got the floor framing plan. Let's dive in and let's talk about some of those decisions. All right, so here is floor framing plan. I stripped it out of the drawing set and give you a little reference. This is that stair opening that I spoke of. And right down there in the basement, shooting a video, and it's probably standing somewhere right there, talking to the camera. So you can see, it's a pretty simple floor framing plan. There's not a whole lot of magic, but even though there's not a whole lot of magic, doesn't mean there's not decisions to be had. So when we look at this, we see, there's 2x10 there, like I spoke of, 2x10 there. This one comes down, and then they lap there over this center beam. And we have that beam called out here. It's two 9¼ beams, and they are dropped, which means that the beam
is down here, and the floor joists are running over the top of it, and they're lapping there. And then it gives them the ability to shoot a bunch of nails in there and connect those. But by having that dropped, allows ductwork to run over that beam in that joist bay, so that if we wanted to run the main trunk, we could run it down here, right? And this is what I would consider the dirty part of the basement. Remember from a few videos ago there where I talk about clean and dirty basements. So the dirty is storage, mechanical space, stuff like that. Not that it's physically dirty, it's just we have a bunch of plumbing and stuff hanging down from the ceiling there. We have a couple bathrooms happening here and here, so that plumbing's dropping down, traps and all of that stuff, so that if I were to finish off this basement, it would be something like this would be the primary space to finish off. And the reason for that is we have the lift and slide door there, and we have two beautiful windows here and two beautiful windows there that would just, you know, flood this space with light and make that a real pleasant place to be, as well as give us access to the outside and the patio and all of that good stuff. So we'd finish this, and then if we wanted to continue finishing it, then we would migrate in that direction from here and finish off that piece. And this section here, we would just retain that as the dirty section of the basement, and we would use that for mechanicals and storage, right? So you can see there somewhat the function of these spaces plays a role in a bunch of the decisions to be had with the floor framing, dropping the beam, running the floor joists over it. The fact that these are 2x10s, that means they're a solid piece of wood. And the beauty of the solid piece of wood is that when these are subjected to a fire, the flame kind of rolls around the side, chars the corners, and really maintain some structural integrity in the center of that floor joist for a decent amount of time. Now, you compare that to the standard I-joist, where it has a plywood or OSB web that is then countered with a top and bottom cord of either LVL or solid 2x. That little web there, that's probably on the order of about 3/8 of an inch, and that's really susceptible to a very quick failure in terms of a fire, right? And so, not that we're so inclined to, you know, the 10 minutes or whatever makes a difference in saving the house or not, which, you know, that would help. It's more about the firemen as they go into the house to assist people in there if need be, that the house stays intact for a decent amount of time so that they can do their job without it almost immediately collapsing. So if you use the I-joist and we don't finish off the space, and there is no plan to finish off this space immediately, that's a future endeavor. So if we went with the I-joist, we would have to either put some insulation in this bay, safe and sound, to protect it and basically fire block, or we would have to do some type of fire armor on the I-joist. The fire armors, it's stuff that you can get applied at the factory on the I-joist so that they come out, and it's basically a protective covering that's applied to that 3/8 inch web to protect the I-joist from very quick failure in a fire. So anyways, moving down, we drop that center beam. Now, because this area here is desirable to kind of be the first selection as finished space in our future phasing, we have the stairs here that come down, and remember those are framed by that triple there and a double joist there, and then we have a bearing wall here to pick up some of those joists, and then the last section here, we actually have a beam because we wanted to have the ability to have an open handrail there. But as you come down the stairs and then take a couple steps, well, then you're going to be in this somewhat just very large room. And so the beauty of that is we stopped that dropped beam there, and then we changed direction and put a beam line in here. And in doing that, it allowed us to rotate our floor joists and get them in this direction. So what did that do for us? Well, it provided this space here at, 15 feet or so of just really great space by the 28 feet. That's a really good sized room. You can see as far as the house goes, it probably is somewhere around 30-35% of the floor plan. So to get that as one big open room was a huge bonus. But the idea that we were using 2x10s, it kept the financial part of the budget in check. And that 2x10s are just simply a much more financial friendly solution to floor framing than some of the others. And this is conducive to being used in this house because the spans are relatively short, right? You're not talking nothing but, 14 footers, 15 footers. So it makes for a pretty easy floor framing plan. But I think you can see here that it's not always just about the dollars or, hey, I'm a 2x10 frame fan or I'm an I-joist fan. It's about understanding the relationship of the spaces that we're putting in here. What are their function? What are the aesthetics of it? Where are we going to have dirty basement? Where are we going to have clean basement where we don't have stuff under it? In the floor plan above, there's no bathrooms or anything up here. It's all down there. So it really set us up for an understanding that this has the potential to be this really great room. And we didn't want to have to run that beam through it here and then divide this space visually into two because we had this 9 1/4 inch beam sticking down into that basement space. So by switching the joist, keeps everything up above that level of the bottom of the floor joist and gives a nice uniform ceiling in that large room. Lights or windows flood the room with lights. We get access outside. And even in a modest house like this one, we extract as much as we possibly can out of the system to work in our favor. So anyways, hope you enjoyed that. That's a 2x10 floor frame, simplified, and some of the decisions behind it. So there you go. All right. That about wraps up floor framing decisions. Anyways, hopefully you enjoyed that. I mean, it's conventional platform framing, but I think we illustrated it in a way that you just don't go out there and kind of just lay out floor joists and go have at it, right? There's a lot of decisions to be had, how the rooms function underneath those floor joists, direction of floor joists, all that good stuff. So anyways, if you're looking for more, you can find me on Instagram at Stephen Basic Architect. You can find my whole library catalog of videos here on the Build Show Network, along with good friends Matt, Jake, Wade, Brent, Drywall Shorty, Mechanical Hub, Zach, and Design Build Doug. All kinds of great stuff coming your way on the Build Show Network. And lastly, you can find me on the Unbuilder podcast. I team up with good friends Peter Joist and Jake Bruton, and we talk building. We talk a lot about it. So go check that out. It's on all your common outlets, media outlets, and on YouTube. So Unbuilder podcast. Anyways, that's it for now. We're going to sign off, and we'll catch up with you next time. So until then, long live our buildings.